Today's episode comes to you thanks to our sponsor, Kangen Water. Electrolyte-reduced water is the power of true hydration, manifested in the most advanced Japanese technology that has been in the market for more than 50 years. To drink the best water, shower with a hot spring quality water, and start a new business with the most amazing and profitable compensation plan in the world, visit thelivingwatercouple.com to learn more or get started today.
Welcome to a brand new experience with innovative voices from all over the world. I would like to invite you all to something that is magical, something that is powerful, and something that is from my heart. This is the Devon Taylor Podcast. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Devon Taylor Podcast, where we have guests from all around the world tell their unique and powerful stories to not only allow their voice to be heard, but for you to feel inspired. Today we are joined by a very special guest. She is a dedicated spiritual mentor and a guide for powerful women and conscious leaders. She specializes in helping her clients build lives and businesses that align with their soul's guidance, utilizing their divine gifts while honoring their bodies. I'd like to welcome to the show, Daniela Arango. Hello.
Thank you. Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. I'm super excited because my co-host, Giancarlo, is the one who connected with you, and I'm super grateful for him reaching out because from what I've seen, you are a super powerhouse. So I'm grateful for everyone to get to know you. But I kind of just wanted just to start with your background story. How did you get into your line of work? What led you to, I guess, just the overall, bettering of your life and situation and putting yourself out there on social media and gaining so many followers and, building a community behind it?
Yeah. I think funny enough, one of the things that brought me to the lifestyle that I live and, my business nowadays was my health. When I was a kid, I had an accident in a motorcycle accident that basically destroyed my left foot. And I had a reconstructive surgery in my left foot. And that got me to, along with the years, of course, to have some troubles with, walking or knee pain, back pains, things like that. So I was always really aware of not being able to be, standing up for a very long time, yes, playing sports because I love to play sports. I love to be active, but always having that restriction of my body, right? Like there were a lot of limits. I remember trying, when I was in the teenager and I wanted to go out all night long in my heels and I couldn't because the next day I was just dying. I remember one day saying, okay, this is really not worth the pain. It's I am dying here. So then I always had that limitation, right? I really wanted to go for it. I wanted to live my life. I wanted to be active. I wanted to go out, but I always had that limitation of you can only do it so much. And so I found myself living in LA and having a job as a host in in a hotel that had a restaurant. And of course, as a host, I was standing up for hours and hours, 8-hour shifts and things like that. And I was just in so much pain. And that got me to yoga. And then I started doing yoga because, of course in LA it was super famous. Everybody does yoga. So I was okay, let's do this thing. And they say that it will help my body. So, and what I didn't expect was to find, myself in yoga. What I didn't expect was to open up my heart in such a deep way and to connect so deeply and to heal so much. And it was just such an awakening for me. And fast forward, of course, it helped me so much with my foot and with my health overall, not only physical health, but spiritual health and energy health and, and mindfulness. I found so much in yoga that got me to become a yoga teacher and begin to collaborate with incredible people and gaining a lot of followers on my social media, just kind of I started just recording my journey. I was sharing about how yoga was changing my life. I was sharing about the things that I was learning as a yoga teacher. I was sharing about my transformation. Like, I really went through so much personal development, and it became my passion. So I think for me, it all started with sharing my journey of this incredible journey of personal development, from being somebody that was just like not really having a purpose, or like just kind of going through life but having the limitations that were kind of annoying, into finding yoga, finding myself, and really just starting to question, what do I really want to do with life? So it so happened that I've always been this person that I think I'm a truth teller. Like, those people that you cannot hide around them. You're like coming in with
Hmm.
your problems and trying to like maybe complain a little, and they're like, no. Well, I'm kind of that person. Like, I'm just like, yeah, I love you and you're cute and all, but like, let's get real. So I've always been kind of like that truth teller, which in the back, or not in the back, but like in my life sometimes has been welcomed and sometimes not so much, because the truth sometimes can be really hurtful, and can be very straightforward and penetrative, I think. Because of that, I've noticed that not everybody wanted to receive what I had to say. So then I found yoga as a way to really be able to guide people in a way that was welcomed. So my classes became not just like a physical class or like a fun yoga class, but they became those spaces of deep transformation. And I really noticed that my classes were literally changing people's lives, and they were just like something so incredible. And then I started doing retreats and sessions, and then just, that kind of developed into one day listening to my intuition right before the pandemic, and quitting yoga and opening up my business. So I think it's been like really intuitive, really flowy. But I think one of the biggest things for me was that understanding of, okay, I was living with limitations, but what if that's not the end of it? So it's always looking for that space of, what if there is more? What if there is more? What if there is more? And through that personal development, really pushing the edges and the boundaries of what I thought I was capable of, and what my life really became.
Oh my goodness. Two things I definitely got from there was you, and I love this, is that you didn't give up. You definitely were like kind of like finding different avenues to, I guess, utilize your situation and capitalizing on it. Because I mean, to create a business from, you know, just walking into doing yoga, which you like you mentioned everyone else is doing, but you're not just doing it like everyone else, you're actually transforming it and utilizing it to upgrade your life. So that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
Of
thank you
course,
for sharing
and
that.
I thank you, and I think that's really important. The piece around, I always ask my clients, how, like, you're doing what a lot of, like, many people are doing, let's say, but what does it look like when you do it?
Mm.
Because that's the piece of really capitalizing in what that looks like for you and your own journey, because it's your own words, it's your own ways, your own, path that you're literally carving for your people.
Mm-hmm.
That's so good. And as you were sharing your story, and this is so synchronistic because even last night, Devan and I were talking about truth. And I was like, okay, we need to keep getting our nervous systems ready so we can hold more truth, so we can hold more embodiment, so we can hold more power and continue expanding. And in our journeys of continue to expanding and holding more truth and holding more of our power and more of our authentic selves, we experience and encounter initiations. Your food situation to me was a big initiation that was a catalyst to align you with your soul blueprint. So it makes me really curious actually to ask you, how do you, badass Daniela Reflector, because just before even recording, I said, ooh, she's a badass powerhouse reflector. And that's how I found you, because I joined one of your master classes, I believe it was, because one of my clients, Lizzie, she was like, let me connect you with all these amazing reflectors, and you were one of them.
Mm.
So how does Daniela Arango embraces her initiations, and maybe even how have you learned to kind of like juice them to get the milk and get more of your essence and more of your power?
I think one of the ways that when things happen to us, we have two choices. We have the choice to say, why is this happening to me? Or how is that happening for me? And that is really the shift. The shift is, this is happening to me versus this is happening for me. And this is not something new, right? We hear this all the time, but it really, really is. And not just in like the big things, but even the small things, to realize that if we're never off track, we can never be off track. What we are sometimes is that we are in reality based upon our own perception of it. So if we morph reality based upon our perception of it, it really is about perception. And I think that's the thing. The thing is, I've always been a person that it's like, I'm ready for a challenge. That's just like what I am. So every time something comes my way, I just look at it as like, okay, so what is here in it for me? Because there's abundance. There's abundance everywhere. There is abundance everywhere, and everything that happens to us, like even nowadays, after having a business for a couple of years, I've noticed that like, the failed launches, the things that didn't work out, the problems with my team, the client, situations that were not so pretty, like all of those things were abundance of knowledge that helped me, have somebody, a client of mine that comes in, and then for me say, oh yeah, I've been there, like I understand that's happened, So it's abundance of knowledge, it's abundance of opportunity, and it's really just as black and white of, is this happening to me or is it happening for me? And whichever you decide, then so it will reveal your way. Mm-hmm. And I think, I become stronger and stronger each time, and each initiation that comes, to be able to more powerfully see it as an opportunity for change, as an opportunity for abundance, as an opportunity for growth. But from the very beginning, it's like, okay, I think it's sometimes it happens that like we need to, how people say we need to go really down to in order for us to change something. And I think for me, it got to the point like I was really hurting. Like I really could not continue to work and then earn money if I didn't do anything about my situation. So sometimes it so happens that we need to literally like hit rock bottom to say, holy shit, like let me just get up and see what's here. Mm-hmm. And my idea with sharing my story is that you don't have to hit rock bottom in order to say, hey, there's more opportunities for me. But mm-hmm. Sometimes it so happens that it is. So if you are rock bottom, then it's perfect. But even then, that's perfect. It doesn't matter where you're at. You can always choose to either see your situation as something that's happening to you, or see your situation as something that's perfectly in alignment to what you're now opened to receive and ready for.
Cool. That makes me just wonder too, just because you seem so strong and so like sure of yourself. Have you ever had a moment where you just felt like I like can't get out of this? Because I know for me, when I'm like struggling, even when it came to creating this podcast, like parts of me still feel like, how do I get out of this? How do I? And I'm doing it. I'm doing it now. But like, how do I get out of this? How do you, have you ever had those moments, and how did you find ways out of that, or ways to overcome that?
That is such a good question. And I think for me, it's not necessarily like, how do I get out of it? But it's more, I think for me has been like, is it enough? Am I going to be great enough? Am I going to be good enough? Is this good enough for people? Am I good enough for people? Or the doubting of like the decisions that you have to make. Like, I think for me, I've invested thousands of dollars in my personal development and in my business, like really big numbers. And I was not always super comfortable talking big numbers, like at all, So when it began the time of me making investments in my business and having the responsibility be on me. I think that's the thing. The thing is that for a long time, it's easier for us, or it had been easier for me to maybe not have such a responsibility and maybe lean into other people to make a lot of choices, or to, have saying in my life and things like that. But when it came to creating my own life, I really realized I have to be the one who makes these decisions, and I have to trust myself. So I think when it came to making those decisions that I've never done before, where it was, about numbers and money and things that I was like, if I do the wrong choice here, like it's all on me. Like I'm the one who's putting my foot on the line, and like I'm gonna have to rescue myself after this. Mm-hmm. And I think, it was not a lack of fear. It was not a lack of, my God, is this gonna be okay? And in many, not only in that, like it was investing, it was showing up and sharing a course, it was, leading team members. There's so many things, and in every single situation, and it really, it's not the lack of fear or the lack of nervousness, or I don't think there is really, there is no that. It's about just doing it. It's about, there is no other way for me not to do it, because I really just don't see myself as staying where I'm at. Like that's the pain of staying where I'm at. It's bigger than the fear that I get by doing the thing. So it's always like, make your dreams bigger, make that thing that you're going after, bigger than anything that can come your way. I mean, for me, it's still nowadays there's doubt. It's still nowadays there's days where it's like, okay, what's going on here? I continue to go back to something that I share in one of my master classes, that it's like, I realize that this is what I was born for. Like, what else am I gonna do in my life if it's not create something amazing? You know what I mean? So it's like, when you realize that, listen, this is what I'm gonna do. This is what I am. This is who I am. There's no way out. There's really no way out. It's only a way through. So when you realize that, I always go back to in the points where it's like, oh, I should just quit. Like, quit what? Your life? Like, this is your life. So right. I think when it comes to fears, it's not the lack of them. I think that's why, in my opinion, I appreciate the people that go first so much. And I think I have the more I grow, the more respect I have for leaders, because I really, really understand what they carry. I really understand, sometimes I'm like, oh, they just make money and it's so easy. But then when you really get there and you make money and you have that responsibility of the team and you have that responsibility of your people, and you begin to really create something that impacts hundreds of thousands of people, then you say, oh my God, like, it took courage, it took bravery, it took tears, it took, like sacrifice. There's so many things that actually take to be a leader. And a lot of the times we just, on this illusion that people that have it, they just come so easy to them. They never have to think about it. No. I was talking about this the other day in my membership too. Like, we separate ourselves from the people that have so much success because we think, but it was easy for them to make that decision. But it was easy for them to do that. It's like, no, they have the same fear as you. They literally have the same tools that you have. Mm-hmm. They just took them, showed up, did the thing consistently, repetitively. They put the thing, and here it is. So there's a reason why they're making more money. There's a reason why they have more responsibility. There's a reason why they have more resources, because they have given more value and they have gone first and they have done the things. I think the more we're able, that's why I always say also, like, bless the people that have what you desire. Bless the rich people, bless the wealthy people, bless the people that have that thing, the people that made it look so easy, so effortless. Like, bless those people that are going first, because they're still humans.
Mm. Okay, that's a wrap. Bye, everybody.
Good. Yeah.
So fucking good. You're a reflector. And this is my first time having a reflector that I can ask these questions. So I fucking love it, because you're a powerhouse. What does, I'm a reflector too, reflector 1-3. So what does it mean for you to be a reflector? How does Daniela perceives life through the lenses of being a reflector for you?
Hey guys, it's Icarus here.
And Amelia.
And I'm here to tell you if you'd like to join our brand new adventure. Go to DevonTaylorAuthor.com to learn more.
And check out the cool items like the new bucket hat.
Yeah, and so much more. See you guys there.
So there is actually, this is a funny story. So before I went into human design and I really realized, what the heck is a reflector? Like, I had no idea about this. And I was in this journey, as I said, journey of personal development, of getting to know myself, of seeing who I am and all of these things. And so I found myself in Bali. And this was right after my near-death experience. So there's like so many things that happened in my journey that really awakened me to so many things, to see the world very differently. But I always realized that, like, there there was a way that I saw things that was really interesting. And the more I leaned in, the more like the world began to like show me a lot of things. So I found myself in Bali in this training. It was a yoga teacher training because I was a yoga teacher for many years, as I mentioned. And I found myself in this training, and all of a sudden it was so interesting because I could be next to somebody and then like almost feel what they're feeling. And I'm like, it's not interesting. And then maybe sometimes I would have a headache, but then the minute, I either leave the place or the person that was with, leave, my headache would like literally instantly be gone. So these little things that started to happen. And I was like, I remember Googling, like for real. I remember Googling like feeling other people things in your body. I was Googling like, what is this gift, or what is this power? What is this thing about like you being the vessel of other people's emotions? Like I literally, and I couldn't find anything in Google at the time. And I was like, I don't know how to explain it, and not a lot of people will understand what I'm actually talking about. But then I began to get really curious about it, when it happened and how it happened, and how did I all of a sudden begin to have so much information about other people the more I opened myself in curiosity. So I think that's the biggest thing about personal development, is get really curious, not like performative, not like pressure, not a perfectionism, but like get really curious about who you are, and you're gonna be like mind blown about what really you show yourself. Anyway, I was like, what is this thing? And it was not until, I don't know how, I was working with a lot of healers and shamans in Bali, and one of them was telling me like, you don't worry about figuring this out right now, Daniela, because in less than 6 months, this is going to be your life. And I'm like, what do you refer to? What do you mean? I don't know. But I was like, okay, I'm just going to let it be. And then it so happened that I found human design and the definition of being a reflector. I was like, what the heck is this? I was like, that is exactly it. And what it really is basically like sampling the world. Like everywhere you go, imagine that you're always in a restaurant eating different meals, eating different things. And that's really what it is. It's like tasting and sampling other people's emotions, other people's, things, the environment, the room, the house, like wherever you go, you're always testing and sampling. So I think one of the biggest things for me as a reflector has been the understanding of my sampling ways of being and how to come back home over and over and over again to clean my aura and to clean my field and to clean my mind so that I can come back home, because otherwise it's easy to get lost.
I love that. I kind of want you to, if you can too, like you explained a little bit about obviously like what happens if you don't do it, but like why do you think it's so important for us to get to know at least this aspect of ourselves, like you getting to know the aspect of you being a reflector? Like why do you think that's so important for us all to know that?
I think we have all the answers that we seek. We have all the wisdom, like we literally have the codes of our own, biggest expression, fullest potential within us. And the way to get to that is very intuitively, in my opinion, is the fastest, easiest, more enjoyable way. When we try to do it with our head, it's really easy that we get burnout. It's really easy that we, get really tired of things. It's really easy that even if we get to success, it feels empty. So the way to really get to all that we desire, which is already something within, but this wants to be expressed, is intuitively getting to know ourselves, opening up that conversation of intuition. And that conversation of intuition, I always say that intuition talks through, feelings and sensations and knowing, it's very intuitive. And so when we are living a life where we're not connecting to our bodies, to our health, to our mind, to our energy, to all of those pieces of us that are connected to the intuition, what happens is that life really, 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 it's really hard. Like we're missing a tool, we're missing the biggest piece of guidance to navigate our life in that way, in the easiest possible way. So every single, like I've noticed that in my life, every single thing that has happened has been guided intuitively. So the more I get to know myself and the more I trust myself and then the more I trust, life unfolding for me, the easier things become. And so, we always have a choice to get to know ourselves or to not.
Thank you.
So powerful. And as you were mentioning the word trust, the question is arising within me to ask you, and especially if you are somebody that is coming from a home where that was not something that was cultivated for you, how do you develop trust, and how do you teach people that they can trust themselves, and what does that mean to you?
That's a great question. That comes with both, again, connecting to your intuition. It's one way to trust yourself. Because when you know yourself more deeply, you get to understand yourself and how you operate, and therefore trust yourself more. But the other thing about trust is that trust means that you had something that you wanted to do or that you did that then worked out for you, and then you develop trust in yourself. So then trust means that you moved, that you took action, that you said yes. Like, trust cannot be built without that. Like, trust is the byproduct of that. So how do I trust myself? It's like, if you're waiting to trust yourself but you're not moving, how can you show yourself that you can trust yourself? You know? So, and it doesn't have to be, let me jump off the cliff and see if I'm going to survive, but it could be in little small ways. Allowing yourself to give yourself the evidence that you're safe and that you can trust yourself.
So cultivating safety also. So beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
I mean, eventually, at the end of the day, like when we make a decision, it's the same thing that I was just saying. When we make a decision, we have two choices. To see the decision, I was like, this didn't work out. Why did that happen to me? Or, oh, this didn't work out. How did that happen to me? Or why, and how did that happen for me? So it's always just like, you either move or you don't. When you move, you have more opportunities to learn more things, even if it's a success, even if it's a failure, especially if it is a failure. So either way, it's a failure, right? Maybe it didn't work out the way that you expected. Okay, how did that happen for you?
Yeah, we all need to be, I guess it's really coming down to the questions you ask yourself, like you're saying, how you're phrasing it. But I kind of wanted to tie into just like your overall work. And I'm really intrigued just, the amount of, I guess not support, but like the community that you've cultivated. What changes have you had to make since you've, cultivated this community? But what do you feel has really helped kind of gain the traction and allowed you to be able to grow at such a rate?
I really don't think that it has happened fast. I have been in this personal development journey I remember that before I started my social media, I was not on I was not on any platform. And I don't know how it so happened when I began to be a yoga teacher, when I began like my personal development journey, that for some reason I decided to go on Instagram, and that was my only platform. And again, I think for me, it was because I was just sharing my own journey and people got a lot of value from that. So there's a thread here that I continue to share in today's conversation, which is the share of, how much value are you putting out there? But like when you become a valuable person, all of a sudden there is value. And what is value translated into? Relationships, network, love, abundance, money, opportunities, collaborations. How much are we willing to give value into society one way or another? So then I think for me, it's because I was just like literally sharing something that was so valuable in such a very, easy, direct, here it is, come in my journey. It was very open. And I think I cultivated a community that way, in the sense of just sharing my own personal intakes. It was like, here's what I'm learning, here's what I found out, and that was so valuable for people, I think. And then after that, it was my students just getting so much value out of my classes. But the reason why they were value out of my classes is because I was doing the work with them. Like, I was really in it. I'm not coming from like a mighty mighty, I have it all, but it's more like, hey, listen, I'm also walking this walk, and this is what I'm learning, and this is how I'm sharing you, this is how I'm guiding you. So maybe I'm maybe a little bit of a step ahead of you, but I'm also in you in the arena and doing the thing. It's been I think it's been like 10 years by now, that growth of that community, of that development. So I think one of the things that happens with following and growing a community is that they know that you're not going anywhere. They know that you're consistent. They know that you're going to be there. And for me, I have been somebody that, have people in my world right now that have been following me for 10 years. And it's such a beautiful thing because you can also see the evolution of somebody. And be able to trust like that person is constantly evolving, is constantly growing, is pushing the edges, and is sharing that journey. So I think it becomes that like evolution, like the value in the evolution maintains people inside of your spaces in a very, very authentic, non-pushy way.
I love that. You're like, it's so related to what we're doing, just by sharing our story. Now we're, starting to get voices from all around, sharing their stories with us. And that's one of the most powerful things that you can do. And I'm hoping that everyone can hear what you're saying and pull that from this episode. Share your story. It doesn't matter if you believe you don't have a story or not, but I definitely love that. That's the message I'm getting is, you shared your story, and now it just branched and opened up so much because you were willing to be vulnerable. So I commend you for that.
People learn from stories, and people love storytelling. I think that's one of the most powerful sources of connection, and it's funny when people come to me and even my clients will say like, I don't have a story. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Let's talk about it. And then they talk about it, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, we all have stories within us. Like that's our life. Like, unless you've been, not doing anything at all, like literally, like it's almost impossible not to have a story. Like even going outside and talking to a stranger creates a story. So the storytelling is such a beautiful and genuine way to connect to people.
Yeah,
even not doing anything is a story.
And
100%. Yes,
I feel that
exactly.
this whole existence is a moving once we remember more and more to become that observant higher self. We learn to be co-participants with that story. I am feeling guided to ask you because I'm hearing a lot of people, even one of our soul sisters and that we're part of our community, Hannah Baker. I'm hearing a lot of coaches talking about a 10K baseline. And I felt really curious to ask, what does Daniela thinks about 10K baseline, and how do you teach that to your members, to your community, to the world?
And what do you mean by 10K baseline? I think this is the first time that I'm like listening to it. So what do you mean specifically?
A 10K baseline, for example, the way Hannah teaches it is to create the structure, the energetics, the systems, everything that you need in order to every month hit $10,000 as a baseline and as a minimum.
Okay, so the strategy of 10K months instead of your online business. Okay, perfect. So here's the thing when it comes to like online businesses and things like that is, when I came into my own journey, like I said, I was a yoga teacher. I was just sharing my story. I was doing my thing. I was paid by the studio. I didn't have to think about, what I was going to earn or not. And then all of a sudden I started to do retreats and workshops and booked out retreats and booked out workshops and really, really was going incredibly. Then I began to have one-on-one sessions and make more money. And then I realized, wait a minute, there's a cap here because there's only so many retreats that I can have and so many workshops that I can have and so many one-on-ones that I can have. If I am still at the same time working full-time yoga teacher and my yoga teacher salary, it's capped. Like it's based on my hours and it's based on what the studio is willing to pay me. And then there is a cap there. And that's really what brought me to this asking of the universe, what's next here? Like, I love my job. I love what I'm doing. I'm excited. I love my community. This is incredible. This is amazing. Now what? Like, what is next here? And then that's, what got me to opening my online business. But when the moment that I knew, okay, it's time to literally quit your yoga job, I just went quiet. I was like, okay, I got it. I'm listening that my intuition, going back to what we're talking about, to my intuition, I'm being guided to shift my direction into an unknown territory. So let me listen, because the first thing that brought me to even that shift is that inner calling that's telling me there is more here. There is more here. So then, that's what's happening. I'm going to get quiet. And I went in, I'm not saying that everybody has to do this, but I do say that a lot of the times we're asking how, get a little bit more than you are just going all the way out there. Like, just ground yourself a little bit and connect yourself a little bit before you take any crazy actions, because you want to come from a very grounded space, from a place where it's like, okay, I'm listening to myself, I'm noticing the options, like there's a way for you. When that happened, I went quiet for 3 months. I literally left social media, I left my yoga job, I left everything, and I said, okay, I'm willing to listen to this thing, because I don't really know how to open, I don't even know, I didn't even know about the coaching industry at all. And I don't know what happened in those 3 months. I made almost a deal with myself of how much money I was willing to make throughout those 3 months when I quit, and I was still making money, ideas were still coming through. But then I realized, I don't actually know how I found the coaching industry, but I did. But one of the first things that I was really clear with myself is, listen, I know my stuff. Meaning, I've been teaching energetics, I've been teaching personal development, I've been teaching leadership, I've been teaching empowerment, I've been teaching mindset, I've been teaching somatics for a very long time. I know that. I don't know anything about having my own business. I don't know anything about sales. I don't know anything about marketing. I have no clue. And I remember here comes a time where, I was going to invest on a business coach, and a lot of people around me were like, are you crazy? Where are you going to invest money on that? That's a shame. That's a scam. It doesn't work, whatever. And that's when I really had to trust and say okay, I hear everybody saying these things, but I was like, okay, I hear what they're saying. Okay. But the cost of me not moving is greater than the cost that if I move and it doesn't work out. I remember thinking that. I was like, okay, I could not move, but then I'm here and I've nailed this and I've done this, but I'm saying I want something different. So the only way here is to go through it. So I did. And my first launch was $17,000 in a span of a month and a half. And it was just like, whoa, what's going on? And our first year was a 6-figure year. And then our second year was a multiple 6-figure year. And then ever since that's, basically what we do. So I've taught energetics, I've taught intuition, I've taught leadership, I've taught somatics, I've taught, so much when it comes to mindset, that it got to a point where I realized, okay, I've learned a lot of strategy also throughout this entire time. And a lot of them, almost every one of my clients is a coach, is a business provider, has an online business. So then what I realized is that for me, people were asking me how do you have a baseline of 10K? How do you, and I'm like, why are people making it so complicated? I learned what that business coach taught me that first month, and I just been doing it. And of course I love to learn. So of course I've been learning so much about marketing, magnetic marketing, strategy, sales psychology. There's so many things that I have learned, but I keep it very simple. Because I really think that the key, it's not necessarily the strategy, the key is the way that you build your people, the way that you show up, the way that you share your things. It's you, you're the magic, you're the juice, you're the gas. So then when it comes to strategy, I'm just keep it very simple. But I think a lot of the times what people don't understand is that to create a business, there's foundations that need to be in place. And I think, for a lot of people that are lacking that is because maybe they're too much into the feminine, too much into the intuitive, too much I just want to flow and fly. Is the same thing what I was saying yesterday. It's are you really putting in the effort that it takes to actually have a business? So I've always been really clear with my clients that there's a strategy and there is energetics, and that leading a business is leading a business, and having a hobby is having a hobby. So I think one of the things for me, keeping that baseline the entire time, is that I'm really clear that the fact that I lead a business, and that money is money and business is business and strategy is strategy and needs to be implemented. So the baseline of having 10K months is just being strategic and keeping it simple. But there is things that need to be in place, and those things take time. I remember when I hired my first team member, which was one of my clients actually, who's still with me. And I remember showing her everything that was behind the scenes, like the business, quote unquote. When I opened it to her, she's like, how the heck do you do all of this by yourself? And I was like, I'm here to build a business. Like, I'm gonna do whatever it takes. So, and it was, I remember at the time that I hired her, I was like, I'm doing like 12-hour days. Like I need somebody to help me. Yes, we talk about ease and flow and all these things, and that's beautiful. But when it comes to business, it's business. Yeah.
Your ability to see what's next is so powerful. Like, I love it, and it's super inspiring. And I hope it's people are listening and really just like getting that insight. That's super helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. I think one of the things for the 10K months, like, don't be afraid to put in the work and to learn the things that you don't know. Like, sometimes what keeps us back, it's like, oh, but that fear that we're not enough, that fear that we don't know, that fear, whatever. And it's like, just learn. Like I had to learn so many things that I did. I knew what my strengths were and I knew what I needed to learn. And so I did. And nowadays I teach the things that I learned, years ago. But what you don't know, you just get to learn. That's just the way that it goes. So maybe some people come in with a lot more strategy, need to work more on their, performance, their speaking skills, their leadership, their intuition, their energy, like whatever it is. There's always an opportunity for you to just get better at it. At whatever it's not that it's your zone of, strength.
Dynamite.
I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about your podcast. That's something else that you started, the Divine Alignment podcast. And I've listened to a few episodes. I love it. I love the last message that you left on the last episode you did. But I also love the range. Do you have episodes that are short, long, in between? So I kind of just wanted to know what inspired you to start the podcast, and what do you hope people will gain from listening to it?
This is Nimram speaking to you, and I command you to go to DevonTaylorAuthor.com right now. You must check the specials. Listen to me. You must check the specials now.
And that was like, I think that was the same thing when I opened the podcast. I was a yoga teacher at the time, and a coworker, she was also a yoga teacher. We had conversations that were like really exciting about energy, about, awakening and spirituality, all of things. And we're like, why not just to like open up a podcast so that our community can listen to us? It was just literally us wanting to build a community around this and just talk about the things that we were talking about. She had a big community herself. I had people that followed me as well. So we're like, we just, put like a hub where people can gather and just listen to, this weekly conversations that we're having. And that's how it started. And eventually, she took another path. She had a kid. She had a lot of beautiful things happening in her life. And I just decided, okay, I'm just going to continue to, I can talk. That's one thing. So I'm just going to ahead and record myself here and continue to talk. So at the beginning, it was never about I was not selling through the podcast or necessarily anything that I was using the podcast for, more than just value to people, getting to, share my story, what I think, what I know, it's just building that community and building that value and that reputation and that authority and that space for people to get to know and for people to gain value out of the things that I shared. So the podcast started like that. And then once the business was growing, then I began a little bit more strategic about, okay, how do we share certain things and then guide people to that next step? What is that next step after this episode? How do we build that community in a more strategic way? How do we build the funnels for people to stay within our platforms? It just got a lot more strategic. We shortened the episodes so that it was more towards the public, because we had very long episodes. And since I was doing also courses, I didn't want to overwhelm my people. So I just began to shorten the episodes and break them into 2. So it was just a strategy as afterwards of how can we make it so that it's enjoyable for them, a win for me, a win for them, and that it has a very clear intention.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love like I said, I love that short format because it was to the point. The message was there. Me and Giancarlo listened to it last night, and we were just like kind of basking in it. And after he was like, "She's such a badass," huh? And I'm like, "Yeah." So it was really cool. Yeah, I'm glad you started it,
Thank
and I'm
you so
glad you
much.
kept up with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and I was also thinking, I think for me, what I ask myself the question all the time, it's how do I like to consume? How do I like, to be treated? What are the communities that I'm excited in, especially as a reflector too? Like, what am I thriving in? What do I like the most? So what I realized is that I really was not able to get through an hour of a podcast episode for some reason. I was just like, my God, can we like get to the point? And so I was like, okay, I'm getting that. So then I'm sure my followers are the same, like my people are the same. So I was like having a meeting with my team, and I was like, okay, let's get to the point. Like, I want you to edit the podcast in a way, I was having guests and we're having an hour conversation, but I was like, either take one really great episode out of this and cut it that way, or take two great episodes where we actually get to the point. And that's what we did. So we had, guest episodes that would come in, and there would be two different episodes.
I love that.
Yeah.
So good. I just love listening to you. I'm curious to ask you, Daniela, where are you from first?
I'm from Colombia.
Colombia. Do you speak Spanish?
Yes, of course. That's my first language,
Nice.
100%.
I'm Dominican. I speak Spanish too. Dominicano.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Qué bien.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you something a little different that we've never had the opportunity to do because I believe we never had somebody that is bilingual. Right, Devon?
I don't think so. Not that I
So
agree.
I want you to take a moment to feel, because I know that there are a lot of people that are bilingual that will listen to this. So I would love for you to take a moment, maybe like a minute, to introduce yourself, and also if you, when you ask your heart, what's a message that you feel that the Hispanic community needs to listen to right now? What would you tell them in Spanish?
Yo creo que una de las cosas que nos pasa como hispánicos es que pensamos que, por ejemplo, cuando yo empecé a hablar inglés, yo no entendía mucho, yo no sabía nada, entonces como que muchas veces tratamos como de ganar mucho conocimiento o tratar muchísimo, somos súper duros en nosotros mismos, cuando la verdad es que todo se aprende, como lo que estaba diciendo, todo se aprende, todo se aprende, todo se aprende, todo se aprende. Y una de las cosas que yo he notado con las personas que hablan español, muchas de mis seguidoras que me hablan español también, dicen, no, Daniela, yo no quería invertir en ti o no he invertido todavía porque todo lo tuyo es en inglés y todavía no sé si estoy preparada, todavía no sé si estoy lista. Y la verdad es que ya estás preparada, ya estás lista. O sea, no tienes que tener ese miedo de por qué no sabes en inglés o por qué esto, por qué lo otro. Yo la pasé malísimo cuando no sabía muy bien el inglés, mi pronunciación era malísima, no entendía muchas cosas, no sé qué, pero and so what? Así que al final del día somos preparados, tenemos inteligencia, hay que hacerlo. No debería ser algo que nos ata. En verdad debería ser algo lo contrario, que estamos aprendiendo un idioma que es más de lo que otra gente tiene, que es solamente un idioma. Y nada, que seguir adelante.
Gracias. And as you were sharing that, it just made me so emotional, and it made me feel so grateful. And I just feel like that resilient spirit in your embodiment. And it's like you really have learned how to forge that diamond in you, and it just feels so fucking inspiring, honestly, and it just deeply touches my heart. And I just really want to ask anybody that may be watching or listening to this to really take a time just to really feel this in their souls, in their bodies, and just to remember with us. Just take a moment to remember with us who you really are, the badass, the beautiful, the talented, the powerful, motherfucker that you really are, and for the great, amazing things that you are in this world to do and to share and to be and to have. And I just want to thank you with all my heart, Daniela, for being here. And I almost didn't make it. I was so tired because I haven't slept. I've been awake all night long. There's so much energy in the collective. And it was a battle. Apparently, it was like, oh, maybe I'll join as a producer behind the scenes. Maybe I'll join as a co-host. And now I'm so deeply grateful that I'm here and that I had this beautiful opportunity and privilege to with Devon, connecting with you and sharing more of your voice and your message and your presence to the world. So thank you so much. And with that, I want to pass it to you, Devon.
Yeah, no, thank you both. That was beautiful. I just would like, I mean, I don't have any more questions. I just kind of wanted you to let everyone know where they can find you. If you have a website, anything, any of that information, obviously the podcast as well. We'll leave all the details in the show notes. But yeah, like if you want to just leave all of that information for everybody.
Yes, yes. There's something that's coming through that I'm going to be just really direct and sharp as I share it, which is one of the things about, the thing that came through in Spanish, which was, and this was not necessarily that people were intentional when they were doing it. Now I realize that. But there was a level of bullying in my life that had happened. Again, I think a lot of the times we can look ourselves and see, a victim. But then again, it's like, I could look at it as like, I'm a victim and it happened to me versus how did this happen for me? And now I understand why and how it actually was one of the things that I needed to overcome to become the person that I am today. And so it happened in high school that, bullying can come in many forms, in many ways, but it was always about, being a little bit different because I'm Colombian, not really knowing the language, not really knowing that. So it's always like maybe being a little bit out. A lot of my friends were from another country, whether that was, another Latin American country or in the States in general. Like I was always kind of off. I was always kind of like a little bit off with many things. And that was really not shyly presented to me. So then all of those things in terms of bullying of like, how do I behave and who am I am I less? Am I, all of those things were things that I had to deal with, throughout, really feeling like maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm different. Maybe I'm silly. Maybe I'm not respected. Maybe I don't really know what I'm talking about. Maybe I'm a little bit dumb, like all of those things. And then continuing to grow up and beginning my job in English and moving to the LA as I decided to just move to LA and start a job in this restaurant. And my English was not great because I had a big accent. A lot of the people that were meeting there were Americans. And for, again, many reasons, like, Daniela's so funny. Look at her accent. Oh, Daniela this. She doesn't know how to do this. She doesn't. And again, it's not like they were trying to hurt me. I know now that that was not their intention, but it was felt. Of course, it's felt. And like you question yourself, I wish I could say this. I wish I could say that. Maybe I come from here. I'm less. There's that separation and there's that deep questioning of who I am and my worth. And, I think one of the biggest things for me is like, I didn't really felt like, I felt like I needed to prove my value. I felt like I needed to prove my worth. I felt like I needed to prove my knowledge, my wisdom, my identity, like all these things, right? But then that allowed me to get to where I am now. Like if I didn't ever feel that I needed to like almost prove, to really find myself, to who the heck am I really? Like if I didn't have all those things that pushed me to get to know myself, that pushed me to, raise above everything that was said to me, to get better at English because I literally had to, otherwise people would not shut up about my accent, then I wouldn't be the person that I am today. So everything really is happening for us if we allow it to. If we, instead of looking at it as, a curse, is actually that thing that will push us forward to do the thing that we need to do. So I am not foreign from bullying, from feeling less, from fear, from am I enough? Like I'm really not a foreign to those things. What I am is just, I continue to show up and I continue to move. That may be what is the difference between where I'm standing and where some of you that are hearing are standing, but that's the only way. And that's the only thing that really is separating. So that's what I wanted to share. And if anybody connected to that story and, it's desiring to continue to be in this energy to get to know maybe a little bit more of what I'm sharing and my work and things like that, then I have a community that is on Telegram that is completely free. And it's where I just share because I love sharing. And I also a lot of the times I'm on Instagram and all the things, but I would just invite you to come in and get into this energy. If you're in a space where you're awakening, when you're remembering who you are, when you're going for more, when you're in that kind of crossroads of like, okay, I'm ready to fly. Like, what does that look like for me? And I'm looking for those spaces that will remind me of who I truly am and what is possible for me. That's what I really love creating for people.
I'm joining the Telegram group right now.
Welcome.
Oh my God, I felt something.
I joined it like at 5 a.m. this morning.
Party, that's going to be amazing.
That definitely was felt. Your whole story just resonates so much with me, and even the bullying, that's something that I've struggled with even in my adult life. Like, whoa, like how mean people can be, like, but and even sometimes not even intentionally. So I'm glad you touched on that. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I realized with that is they're projecting insecurities, and we're either in a place in our lives when we can see that and hold a space for them, or we're in a space in our lives when we cannot yet hold a space for them because we cannot hold a space for ourselves just yet. So it hurts a little different,
Really?
So that's really what it is. But sometimes it does touches you. It could happen that it just like a comment hits you just in that way that you're like, I'm not ready to hold the space for this person in this particular area yet because I have to meet myself in that area first. And then the whole wheel begins again of like, let me go into those places where I need to find safety, where I need to love myself a little harder so that I can then hold the space for the people that are putting those, projections so that they don't really hit, but they're actually just show up.
Yeah. I just have 2 more questions. Are you still in Los Angeles? Because I would fucking love to go to an event in person.
Thank you. Oh my God. My dream in the next year is to do an in-person event. They really are something, like there's something about them that I have not been able to translate in the online space. And I'm trying, and I'm really, really trying to do this, but it's just not the same. And I haven't done an in-person event in such a long time. I am though leading, co-facilitating, being one of the co-leaders in 2 retreats this year in Jamaica. But for me, for my own events, I live in Spain right now. So we're kind of figuring it out where that would look like, where
California.
our events will take place. We'll see. It's coming.
Your accent in, what were you saying, Devon?
No, I was just saying you had one more.
I was going to say first that your accent in Spanish is so beautiful. It's like my favorite Colombian accent. It just melted my heart. That's why it just started opening. Then I was like, okay, that's number 1.
I give in.
Number 2, I'm feeling curious and also kind of like guided to ask you, because it keeps coming up, to ask you, what do you believe spirituality is? Do you have any routines, any habits, any rituals? And I want to connect that with, what does a day in the life of Daniela Arango looks like?
I am very practical when it comes to spirituality, I think. I think for me, spirituality, what really is that connection with yourself. That connection with the self, of the understanding that you are more than this body. Like, that's spirituality to me, just like very plainly put. It's like the more you connect with yourself, the more you understand, like, I cannot be just human. Like, I'm fucking magical. Like, what is going on? And all of a sudden you're like, okay, that's basically spirituality, right? That deeper connection with yourself, that you realize that you transcend your human body. And so for me, how do I connect to that? I think one of the non-negotiables for me, whether, the day, whatever the day looks like, the non-negotiable is to just have that moment of silence, that moment of being with myself. And that for me is the morning. So when I wake up, and I will just have 2 hours of just being with myself and just, looking at, nowhere and everywhere, just kind of like tuning in, being with myself. I always say connect to that inner steady place within, because that inner steady place within is what's going to guide you forward, is what's speaking to you, is what's guiding you. So for me, especially also as being as a reflector, just making sure that I am as within myself as possible, that I feel home. And from that space, I know what to say, I know what to do. It's just, things become a lot more clear. So that's my spiritual practice. My spiritual practice is just, that meditation, that being space of meditation. and then I go in, I talk to my clients, I do the things, and that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Jason, do you have any more questions?
I can have one more. What
Yeah,
is fun
please.
to you? How do you play? How do you have fun? How do you allow your
Oh, I love
inner
sports.
child to?
Yes, I love
Mm,
sports. I love beach volleyball, which was, I've always played and I love it. Nowadays, I'm playing a lot of paddle, which is really fun as well. So going to the gym, going for walks, like just movement, it really where I bring this like fun, play, competitive, just like, part of me. And I'm very blessed with incredible friends. So just, going for dinners or for drinks or whatever, I don't go out too much or actually at all, but I do like to, a good dinner with friends or a drink here, or, just spending quality time with my people really it's one of the things that I love. But being in nature also, like going for walks, the fact that I live by the water is very important for me as well. So just staying really connected, really grounded. But the sports, it's the sports and games. I think I like board games and just like I think it's fun to play.
Beautiful.
Devon, do you want to share that you're a volleyball coach and that you love volleyball and that?
Yeah, I grew up playing volleyball. I'm connected with volleyball. Yeah, and I
Oh my
still coach
gosh,
volleyball. Yeah, volleyball has
I
been
love
super
it.
intertwined, yeah, in my life. So I love whenever I make a connection with someone that's played the sport of any aspect, because once you played the sport, you understand. There's just a certain love.
Yes, yes. When I was living in Miami, I think it was 2 years ago, I was living in Miami for 4 months. And I found a group because I was living by the beach, and I found a group that would go basically almost every day to play in the beach next to my building. And I would just do my work as fast as possible. It's like, okay, I gotta go, like wrapping up this call. And I will go into, the court, and we will play for like 4 hours a day. It was crazy. Like, I'm obsessed. I'm really just like obsessed with the sport. I think it's so fun. So yeah, I hear you on that.
Well, maybe we can play someday. I love that. That's so
Yes,
cool. I love
that would
volleyball.
be amazing. That would be amazing.
Yes, I would love that too. And it has been coming to my awareness. Anne's book, Devan wrote a children's book, and we wrote a book as a family. It's called Icarus Finds His Power. And I've been asking, why is this coming up? And then when I keep asking, I was getting the intuition that maybe you are being guided to write a book, or maybe you're already writing a book, or I don't know if you're feeling guided to write even a children's book. So I would love to know, like, what does that mean to you, Daniela?
Oh, that's very interesting. I think that there has been times where I'm like, I think I could write a book about this. I think I could write a book. I think I have so many stories in my life that I could definitely write a book, but it hasn't yet come into like, okay, this is the time to write the book. But thank you for that message. I receive it. I receive it. When the time comes, it will happen.
Mm-hmm. It
I feel
will.
that it will happen.
Thank
I do
you.
too.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Well, thank you again so much for being here. We appreciate your time. I know your story is going to resonate with so many people. It resonated with me, made me cry. So thank you for that. And I just hope anyone that resonates with Daniela's story, please follow her. Please join the Telegram group. Like she said, it's free. And I'll leave all of her links in the show notes. But thank you again, Daniela. We truly appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me. It has been such a fun time just connecting. And funny enough, like I think throughout everything that I share, always like one of the jokes back in the times when I was a yoga teacher to my clients was like, if you haven't cried in Daniela's class, like you really haven't been to her class. So I welcome you to like that experience of just those tears of appreciation. Like, is this those tears of like kind of listening something that really resonates so deeply that it's like also like really what my soul was like wanting to hear and needed to hear, that didn't even know that's what needed to happen. So I'm so happy that you found yourself that place. That's such a sacred like moment. So thank you for welcoming me and for being so open and inviting and for asking amazing questions. So thank you.
Of course.
And from my part, I have said a few times that, "Ooh, this is my favorite episode." Now, I honestly feel that this is my new favorite episode, and I want to say that
Mm-hmm.
Daniela Arango is officially Devon Taylor Podcast badass.
And so it is. Thank you so much.
So it
Thank
is.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Are you ready to transform your life with the power of living water? Hi, I'm Devon Taylor, and I want to share an incredible discovery that's changed my life and my family's life: living water. Imagine waking up every morning feeling refreshed, energized, and ready to conquer the day. With living water, it's not just a dream, it's our new reality. We've been sleeping better, eating healthier, and have more energy than ever before. But that's not all. Our secret to this newfound vitality is available to you too. Visit our website at thelivingwatercouple.com and discover how living water can revolutionize your health and wellness. And there's more. Tune into our podcast, available on all streaming platforms and YouTube, where we dive deep into the science and benefits of living water. Hear from experts, satisfied customers, and learn how you can make this life-changing decision for yourself. But don't wait too long. Prices for our water machines and supply are going up in July 2024. Now is the perfect time to invest in your health and well-being. So, head over. Remember, living better starts with living water. Living water, drink, thrive, and live your best life. Visit thelivingwatercouple.com today.